They say public speaking is, one of the people's number one fears. And especially at that time, new to the unit, 19, 20 years old, standing up in front of my platoon is something that I'll never forget. 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion, I got PCS orders in Okinawa. And then at that time, I had full intentions to exit the Marine Corps.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Carry On podcast. In this podcast, we talk about resilience, leadership, and how to keep carrying on through those challenges in life that we go through as service members. Today, my guest is a combat engineer in the Marine Corps with years of experience leading Marines on multiple levels. My guest today is Master Gunnery Sergeant Chuck Anderson. Master Guns, thank you for taking time to sit down with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Master Guns, can you tell me where you're from and what motivated you to join the Marine Corps, and why did you choose to be a combat engineer?
Yeah, no problem. So I joined the Marine Corps in 1998. I'm originally from Hickory, North Carolina. It's a small furniture industrial town in the western part of the state. They call it the foothills. It's approximately about an hour and 15 minutes northwest of Charlotte, North Carolina. During that time frame, it was considered the furniture capital of the world. Due to economic issues, a lot of job opportunities in these organizations, these manufacturing companies going overseas, a lot of the job opportunities were limited there. So even people that had tenure, that had been in these manufacturing companies for decades, they were losing their jobs. So the economic impacts were pretty, they were felt. During that time. So a lot of the students that I went to high school with and graduated with, there was only two ways out of that area. Either you went to college or you joined the military. So I initially was going to pursue an architectural degree at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, a 5-year program. I was going to start knocking out my basic courses at a community college there, local in Hickory, North Carolina. So I was going through that process. About 2 semesters, I realized not for me at the time. So I just didn't have the discipline to put forth the time and effort to study and focus, so on and so forth. 18-year-old, you got other things to do than worry about school. So with that, I found a job at FedEx, unloading trucks, and then a little bit later on, I started loading the delivery trucks. I was there about 6 months. I realized that there was not a lot of future opportunities for me to progress within that company at the time. So I had a couple friends that joined the Marine Corps. So I was like, I punched out of work that day, and I went directly to the Marine Corps recruiting office there in Hickory. So with that, my recruiter at the time was Staff Sergeant Eric Craig. Talking through him, just going through the rapport building and everything that recruiters do. He found out I had that college, the background I was interested in, architecture, engineering. So he linked up and sold me on the construction management program that the Marine Corps offers. Combat engineer is one of those jobs that fall under that field. So it was an easy sell for me at that time.
You moved after that you joined the Marine Corps, and then after that you chose this MOS. So it was not like something that they picked for you.
Yes, correct. Chose that MOS, and luckily. That's one thing the Marine Corps can provide you is they'll provide you or guarantee you the career field. The specific MOSs within that could be, an array of different.
But you got lucky because you got the MOS that you wanted.
Yeah, correct. It was what I wanted based off my understanding of what that job was going to be at the time. I could have been a bulk fueler. I could have been a utilities chief, an electrician.
Because all these fall in the same program?
They all fall under the same program. So, it's funny how things work out.
All right, Master Guns, after you finished MOS school and you went to the fleet. Can you tell me about the challenges that you had for the first 4 years?
So at this time, it was April of 1999, graduated combat engineer, basic combat engineer course there at Courthouse Bay, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. My first duty station was 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion. At the time, it was on C Street. So if you're familiar with Camp Lejeune, it is over there by the base theater. Now it's down in Courthouse Bay. But anyway, get checked in there, just going through, trying to learn the ropes, trying to, do the best you can. I was a Lance Corporal at this time, so just trying to find some type of mentorship or leadership that, I could emulate and set myself up for success. We as people, we as Marines, we strive to do the best we can. No one wants to fail, right? And I was no different. So with that, there was a lot of, for me, mental and physical challenges that I had at the time. One that really sticks out is Lance Corporals. There was 3 of us to a barracks room. So, the barracks room is what it is. We're 3 to this room. And one of the guys that I was a roommate with was on restriction. So like he already had problems going on. So I knew right then, getting a quick understanding of like, what is restriction? This guy did, X, Y, and Z to get put on this. This is not a good path or someone that I should, really be around if I want to do the best that I can and set myself up for success. But, that aside, things worked out. That guy, he didn't really, impact my career or my progression there in the at my first duty station. It wasn't until I got put on a MU platoon to support the Battalion Landing Team 2-2, the Warlord, for the 26th MU. So we was the Combat Engineer platoon. So the way that is structured, we had a gunnery sergeant as the platoon sergeant, and we had a staff NCO or a staff sergeant that was the platoon guide. And then 3 sergeants were our squad leaders. Both of them, retired. One retired as a sergeant major. The other gentleman retired as a master sergeant. I still keep in contact with him today. Definitely influenced me, in some of the things, and they helped me through some of these challenges. And it was particularly the Staff Sergeant Fogarty was his name, the platoon guide. He challenged me both mentally and physically because, shortly after, getting to that first duty station, I was promoted to corporal, the non-commissioned officer. There's a lot of opportunities and things you are responsible for at that time. Fire team, you got Marines that you're in charge of, so on and so forth. But one of the big things that we did at that time within that platoon and that staff sergeant was responsible for was like the NCO-led classes. And I'll never forget this. The class that I was given was engineer reconnaissance. And with that, there's this form or this paperwork that you have to understand the nuances and the intricacies of like what the specific terms mean and be able to explain that. So that was extremely difficult for me at that time. Never really had any,
You had to give a class about it?
Had to give a class, so I was forced to learn this material. And then, they say public speaking is, one of the people's number one fears. And especially at that time, new to the unit, 19, 20 years old, standing up in front of my platoon to, give this class, I was really unsure about. But, that staff sergeant, sort of forcing my hand there to break me out of my comfort zone is something that I'll never forget. And, just throughout my career, it's I think paid dividends, and it forced me to understand, the importance of getting out of your comfort zone. Because when we're in that position, we become complacent. We cut corners. We do things that could
Trying to get away from responsibility.
try to get away from responsibility. It's just human nature, right? And the physical challenge that I have, I still have this today. 27 years later is the body composition evaluation. So like every 2 times a year, I'm required, at a minimum, I'm required to get evaluated for height and weight, and then I'm outside what the Marine Corps says is my weight standard for my height. So we go through the body composition evaluation, the tape of the neck and the abdomen region. And it's a process for me because I sit around 15 pounds over my maximum weight. So like I can't just go sweat it out. Like I have to diet, have to have good nutrition and work out.
To make sure you meet those,
yeah, there's a regiment to that for me. So it's a process. When I just first got to this duty station, I didn't really understand that. I was boot camp, everybody gets to where they need to be, right? So like coming into the fleet, I gained a few pounds. With that promotion to corporal, it's going to send me to corporal's course. So as with any professional military education, you got that screening checklist, the height and weights, and so I was out of standards at that time. And that staff sergeant pulled me aside, and he was very directive, authoritative to me, but he explained the importance of that, why I need to lead by example at a young age. So I did what I needed to do. I worked out more. I watched my diet more, and then I went back in for a reevaluation, and I was where I needed to be. And I think the big part of that is that staff sergeant, he told me he was proud of me for doing that, and he knew that I could do that, that I could get where I needed to be. So that's stuck with me. Those incidents are in my mind both good examples of the physical and the mental challenges that I had at that time, because it just continued to progress. Okay, they see you can teach this one class, let's learn another class. And it's just a snowball effect. So you build upon, that initial class, and then you just gain your, wealth of knowledge.
More comfortable standing in front of people.
More confidence, you're more comfortable in front of people, so on and so forth.
So Master Guns, would you say like, you come into the fleet and having those conversations with your staff sergeant, was it like something normal, like in the combat engineer environment where like junior NCOs or like junior Marines are like having to publicly speak, to give classes, and that's why you thought it was like targeting to you? Or like, you had to be like these guys in order to be a good Marine as well? Or what was that like? And also for your physical challenge, right? Do you think like today the Marine Corps height and weight standards is where it should be, or do you think that we could make some corrections?
To answer the first part of that question about the mental challenges and like if targeting or being bullied into if you can't public speak, especially being new to any organization, even today, you want to fit in anywhere you go. So you try to do the things that you need to do, whatever that may be, to have everybody. It was almost like a rite of passage. You want the audience to nod their head and be like, "Yeah, okay, you passed the test for this class." So if knowing that as the individual that's going to get up there in front of people, you have to put in the work. And that's what the mental challenge was for me, because even at that time, sports in high school, pretty athletic, I understood the process of, putting in work will translate into results. thinking about that into learning material, references, putting in the work, the material, you gain a sense of confidence from understanding that, and it just makes it that much easier to get in front of people and communicate. You're more comfortable in your own skin at that point.
But it was a challenge to you because the staff sergeant basically asked you to do it. Was it something normal for everybody to do it too? Or like at the time you felt like maybe that was something that you're struggling with, that he made you do it because of that?
I don't think there was any rhyme or reason as to why I got chosen for that. Because I do recall, not any other junior NCOs were up there to give a class, because it wasn't just my class. It was like a morning block. You have 3 or 4 hours. It was an hour dedicated to 3 different classes, and so those other guys following the class that I give. I don't think it was
targeted
necessarily that. No. I don't know the rhyme or reason
to work on that.
Yeah.
And for the physical standards, what is your thoughts about that now that the Marine Corps still have the same physical standards as in regard to height and weight standards?
Yeah, the thoughts on that is I think even with the revamp of the implementation of the in-bod machine that we use. Essentially, it sends the electric pulse through your body, and it'll break out the differences in the bone, muscle, fat, and water. Break it down into percentages, and actual weight is better than where we were previously. But I think that's not even the gold standard. The gold standard is what they call that bod pod. It's the pressure chamber. You'll get in. So essentially,
gives you an exact. Yeah.
Yes, MCCS, or I know on Kadena Air Base they have one over there by the Reisner gym. You'll just set up an appointment and you go in there, and it just pressurizes everything. That's you sit in there for like 5 minutes and it breaks out. And it's very scientific. It's the gold standard. And I say all that to say this: the Marine Corps has invested, millions of dollars in this. Implement this across the enterprise, across all the various MEFs, and it's not even the gold standard. We want to label ourselves as the Marine Corps as being the best. Why not look out for the service members, the Marines, and have the best available equipment, because these things can impact their livelihood, their career, if they're not within the standards that they need to be. And just thinking through that, the culture of the Marine Corps in this height and weight standards is very, if you are outside of where you need to be, people look at you and differently. They immediately think that there's something wrong with you and you can't perform at a high level. And this varies from where you go. Going back to the first duty station there at CEB, second CEB, supporting BLT 2-2 with the infantry, the Victor unit. That's dog eat dog world over there. Like, there's no excuse for anything. There's a bunch of
constant PT, constant stuff.
Constant PT, constant training, field time. It's nothing but meat eaters over there. So like the expectation takes it up to another level. So like goes back to, what I was saying earlier, you want to fit in. So you do the things you need to do regardless of physical or mental to get where you need to be to fit in, because you don't want to be scrutinized. You're already scrutinized.
You don't want to be outperformed, and you don't want to not perform well, I guess.
Exactly.
Yep. So Master Guns, you've been in the Marine Corps for 27 years. Throughout this time, I know that you've faced a lot of challenges, a lot of hard moments. What would be your toughest moment in the 27 years that you had that forced you to grow as a Marine?
That's a good question.
Or moments?
Going back to my first enlistment, 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion, I got PCS orders to CAB in Okinawa. And then at that time, I had full intentions to exit the Marine Corps. I have Whiskey 95 orders, going out on terminal leave. I go to Camp Pendleton to go through that administrative process to transition out into the civilian sector. At that time, I was going to move back to South Carolina, and I had I thought an opportunity to become a highway patrol officer, so a state trooper in South Carolina. That job fell through, and I needed a job or income. I had a family at the time, so I couldn't let the bills overcome us. So what do I do that's quick, it's easy? Looked at coming back into the Marine Corps. What does that process look like? So I reached out to local recruiters. They didn't want anything to do with me. And somehow I found the career planner on Parris Island, South Carolina. He was like, yeah, come on down. So I was about a 3-hour drive from where I was. I was in upstate South Carolina. Go down there, and it was just a simple re-enlistment process at the time. I go through that process, get accepted for re-enlistment, and I'm pending to execute orders to go to New River, North Carolina. So this time is about September of 2002. So I'm under Headquarters and Service Battalion there at Parris Island, South Carolina, and they stuck me in the career planner's office. And I'm just hanging out in there, making copies, doing administrative work, so on and so forth. Nothing real mind-blowing. So it was October 31st, so Halloween of that year. And Parris Island, South Carolina, if you're not familiar with, is just adjacent to Beaufort, South Carolina. Beaufort, yeah. Small town, low, what they call it, the lowlands. I went out to an Applebee's there local, had some alcohol beverages, too many. I got behind the wheel of my vehicle, and I drove back through the gates of Parris Island, South Carolina, onto that base. In doing so, I was going back to my barracks room. I ran off the road there in front of the parade deck. I hit a palm tree and a light pole, so I wrecked. I get out, have a gash on my forehead. People that were behind me, they pulled over, they helped me. Ambulance came, took me to the local hospital out in town. I contacted the career planner. He was like, okay, come back in Monday morning down here. PMO wants to see you. He was like, come to my office first thing. So a couple days go by. This was Friday. So a couple days, I'm showing back up to Parris Island at the time. At this point, I'm a sergeant. I think I'm doing right. I go directly to PMO there on PI and didn't listen to the master sergeant. At that point, they started questioning me, and they wouldn't release me without the master sergeant coming under his watch. At that point, I signed a release to allowing PMO to pull my records from the hospital. They found I had blood alcohol content that exceeded the legal limits, and at that point they charged me with driving under influence. So the commanding officer at Headquarters Service Battalion on Parris Island is a 06 Colonel. So I had some mitigating circumstances, had some stuff going on with the wife at the time. I explained that to the lieutenant colonel and the colonel, and they decided to allow the company to conduct non-judicial punishment. So It stayed at the company level. I got half month's pay for 2 months and then 14 days restriction, 14 days EPD. So, a lot less of a punishment than what it could have been.
Didn't take your rank.
It didn't take any rank. The 14 and 14, was a slap on the wrist at the time, and I was able to stay in the Marine Corps. My first fitness report was a non-observed adverse because of that incident. And because I was there for less than 90 days before I PCS'd to the air station in New River, North Carolina. So I get there, I'm a sergeant. At the time, it's 2003. What's going on at that period of time is OEF. So everybody's going forward to Iraq, and that's what we were doing. So all this stuff, this administrative actions and the punishment really got pushed to the back burner. We went forward.
You wouldn't say whenever you checked into the new unit, you kind of like, it was hard for other people to accept you, or like they just know that you just got in trouble?
No one knew.
No one
knew of that incident unless you looked in my record, my UPB. At the time, it was just the way things were. Everything wasn't automatic. I think that it was transitioning from like paper, SRBs to like everything's all uploaded.
Real missions going on too, so everybody's
their focus is on other things rather than getting to know me and like what if I had any issues. So like we come back from deployment. We was gone 8 months. So the latter portion of 2003. 2004 goes by, 2005, another deployment. And I was the unique circumstance that I would, of having the CEB and CAB background, I would go support the infantry units conducting sweeping operations with a metal detector, right? So looking for any type of explosive hazard. So attached to them, so I was sort of out of sight, out of mind of like my direct line supervisors. I come back, and it's at the end of the 2005, transitioning into 2006. I'm up for, I'm in zone for promotion to staff sergeant. So at this time, a lot of op tempo's high, a lot of things going on. There's not a lot of leadership and mentorship going on, telling me like what I need to do. Like, yes, I've got fitness reports. Are they good? I don't know. Like, you only know what you know, right? And as a young, sergeant, you don't know a lot about fitness reports unless there's some direct mentorship and guidance provided to you. Hey, here's what you need to do for these things to focus on. So, long story short, I got passed over. The guys that I were working with, they got promoted. And I could see like how they were treated versus how I was treated, and the difference, like, oh, he was in zone, you got passed over, must be, garbage, right? Yeah. You're not a performer. The other guys, kudos, slaps on the back, getting orders, going to places, moving on to bigger and better things, right? So really understanding, that was the first, time in my career that I realized that that I need to look for something. I need to seek someone out, that could be a mentor, that can show me what right looks like. How do I right this ship and get promoted to staff sergeant, to staff NCO.
So Master Guns, whenever you were sitting down with the 06, explaining to him what you were going through in your personal life, what was those things that made him change his decision or like impacted him to decide to kind of like not throw the book at you?
The token term was mitigating circumstances. You have mitigating circumstances. And I was, at the time, I was going through a lot of marital issues. My first wife, just some infidelity that had come to light. And as a young individual, especially a young Marine, that's really stressful. You don't make a lot of money, and trying to, do what you need to do to perform in your work and find that work-life balance. So like I explained all that to the colonel, and he was, forgiving enough and understood that these situations and these circumstances were truly impacting my decision making. And ultimately, that guy, I could probably say, saved my career, because if that would have been a battalion level NJP, it would have definitely had greater impacts than what he, allowed to occur as far as a company level NJP.
So Master Guns, as you stayed in the Marine Corps and you kept getting promoted, what would you say the toughest decision that you had to make as a leader? And what was the impact of that?
The toughest decision I've had to make as a leader, I would say I was a gunnery sergeant. I was probably a year off recruiting duty, so this is 2010, 11 time frame. I just PCS from recruiting to 1st Combat Engineer Battalion, Camp Pendleton. At that time, the battalion is training and working up to go to Afghanistan. The entire battalion. So it was their opportunity in the rotation. So I get there and we're in the middle of a workup. I get bounced around as a gunny in my MOS. We're typically platoon sergeants. But as this staffing at that time was full, they already had all their leadership in certain, the platoon sergeants across the different companies. So I was in H&S company. At that battalion, it was called Sappers Platoon. So going forward, Sappers Platoon, we were responsible for giving threat briefs, talking through TTPs about how to employ metal detectors, different patrolling formations, so on and so forth. It was essentially RSO&I training, so the reception, staging, onward movement, and the integration into the battle space. So all members that were coming into the Helmand Providence, all service members had to go through our RSO&I training. So I think it was approximately 27,000. 27,000 service members we directly impacted with classes and knowledge that we provided. Now, along with that, the Helmand Province, if you're not familiar with, at that time, 2010 and 11 was one of the most highly volatile kinetic environments, in Afghanistan. BLT, or 3-5, Dark Horse 3-5, so 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, they just took over from the British Army to gain that, or to control that AO. And 3-5 with 1st CB, we're going there as well to the town of Sangin. So IEDs, improvised explosive devices, were a huge thing, and a TTP that the enemy was utilizing in great success at that time. So all across Sangin, Afghanistan was 3-5 and platoons and squads of 1st Combat Engineer Battalion Marines. With that, some of the TTPs and how the British Army employed their forces didn't really marry up with how the Marine Corps employed their forces. So we're very proactive, vice reactive in the Marine Corps, right? So like what we would do, we would send out patrols. The British Army, they did not. So what that meant is that when the U.S. Marines, we occupied that AO, there was IED belts literally right up next, outside of our compounds, our patrol bases, our forward operating bases. So a huge threat. And IEDs can vary in size to threats that could just take off someone's leg, they could take off both legs, they could kill you, or they can be a larger scope that can flip over up armored vehicles. So an array of different things, different sizes, capabilities. So the enemy has employed this, TTP to hinder and prevent the United States Marines from doing what we needed to do and push out patrols. And that directly impacted everyone that was in that area, because there was so many casualties, so many wounded service members because of that, that general grade officers and people in the Pentagon, these commanders, chairmen of the Joint Chiefs, were considering forcing 3-5, pulling them out and rendering them combat ineffective. It's unheard of. I believe the fact is that no other unit has had this even entertained since Vietnam. So you can huge implications there if they do that. The forces that be, the decision makers, they didn't go through with that. They just had combat replacements to backfill the losses of the Marines 4, 3, 5. And, very kinetic environment. After a certain period of time, we was able to clear those IED belts out, and we had standard patrols that were being sent out twice a day. One before noon, the second one would be from 1200 to 1800. And 1800 was whenever sun set was, because there was no authorized operations or even to be conducted, because that was such a high IED threat at night. And the guidance from the U.S. military that was pushed out was that no of the civilian populace was to be out at night. If you were found out at night, you were considered hostile, and the U.S. forces would take appropriate action. So I say all that to provide some context. Going back to our responsibility we was at Camp Leatherneck, Afghanistan. Every month we would send someone out to the patrol bases to update our threat brief. And this particular month, it was January of 2011 at that time. I went out to patrol base Barriola, and I would go out on patrol with them to see how they're employing their forces. What's the true IED threat in this particular environment, and just to talk to the leadership out there to take that information back and be able to employ it. You would hear stories, you could hear gunfire, you could hear enemy friendlies in contact, 2 streets over, very kinetic environment. But it was so surreal to go out on patrol with those guys, because you knew the threat could, if you step one way left or right of the man in front of you, you could potentially die. The threat was real. But being able to have, as a gunny, being able to take the knowledge and the information that I had from doing what I was doing at that time, and be able to brief that. I wasn't the patrol leader, but I could provide value to that patrol leader and the patrol members that were going out as to things to look for, appropriate actions to take in the event of. We would talk through different scenarios. If we take contact, if someone steps on IED, what are we doing? What are the medical CASEVAC procedures? What does that look like? And just talk through the different variables and potential things that were going on or could happen during that time. And it's circle back, patrol leaders, company commanders, platoon sergeants, they would come to me. I would be out there for a week at a time, or I was out there for a week. They would appreciate the conversation and said it was value added. So, going back to the question, the toughest decision, maybe not the toughest decision, but the
Impact.
the influence that I had at that time, based on the environment, in my mind could be very real and very tough, given the circumstances that we were in.
During those times that you gave the briefs, Master Guns, was there any time that after you finished and the Marines went out there, some of them didn't come back and that impacted you?
Oh yeah, there's several different situations. So this wasn't just a U.S. military RSO and I. This was a joint force, RSO and I. And what I mean by that, we had different nations, their forces, their service members coming through this program. The Afghanistan National Army, the ANA, they came through this as well. And specifically, the Georgian Army. So you think about geographically where they're located and what they were dealing with, Ukraine, Georgian, close to those forces in those countries, close to Russia. They were coming down to go through our courses. And at that time, the 26th MU was making landfall, and they were going in to help with, to supplement forces in that AO. So there was 9 of us at that our instructor cadre there at Camp Leatherneck. And for the 26th MU, they wanted a specific training package that was different from the one that the majority of service members took part in. So we built that out, some lane training, and what that is had the detectors going through, ensuring they understand how to employ the metal detectors to look for explosive hazard, landmines, IEDs, so on and so forth, and some other patrolling, training. So it was a 4-day package. The 26th MU, they go through that, and then they go forward and they go support operations in Sangin. Specifically combat engineers. I don't recall the Marine's name, but I know he was the squad leader. I know he lost his life going through operations there in the Helmand province. During that, as a part of the 26th MU. It was so significant that they disembarked the ship. They made landfall, but they had no time frame that how long they were going to be in country. The ships, they left, which would let you know that they're going to be there for a significant period of time. So the Navy and the amphibious ready group, they departed and went back to the United States. The service members that made it out of that deployment, they had to get flown back. But there was that situation or circumstance with that Marine sergeant, combat engineer, and then the Georgians. The Georgian Army, they came through our training as well. And it was an entire battalion of Georgian military. As they were going through our training, I guess it's all, the language barrier and just like the temperament and the personalities of their armed forces versus like what we were accustomed to. They was sort of lackadaisical, joking. You've seen a lot of laughter and like, very not focused on the problem and the training at hand. So, there's nothing we can do. We had no real authority over the service members that were coming through, but we could provide feedback to higher headquarters and go through the general staff if there was a issue with situations like that. So the Georgian Army, they were responsible for an entire area of operation. So they took a sector of the Helmand province at that time, and it's 2011. So, the reports that we got back from them, they took heavy casualties. So there's that circumstance and situation with the Georgian Army and the Marine sergeant
that's kind of helped you guys tighten up the brace, makes it.
Yeah, it brings into question. I mean, you don't know. As with anything, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? So, you can provide the information the best you know how, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it sticks with the individuals that are receiving that training, that information. But it does make you question yourself. And we, as a instructor cadre, came together and ensured that we were doing things correctly. Once we heard the news about both those different situations, and it's unknown, but you do question yourself, and you have that come to Jesus moment with yourself. Did you do right? Did the information that you were passing, was it what it needed to be?
Most important, did they pay attention?
I mean, that's the $1 million question, right?
Yes, Master Guns. So, Master Guns, for the leaders, what advice would you give with all the experience that you have?
For the leaders of the Marine Corps, the advice that I would give is inspect what we expect. As leaders, we are in a position of authority to ensure the well-being and the guidance and the development of the future generations. So just setting the example, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's understanding doctrine, publications, or whatever, just inspect what we expect. Hold yourself accountable just as you do the Marines under your charge.
And for the junior Marines, for those Marines that are in the first four years, what would you tell them, knowing that you have been through a lot in your first 4 years? For
the junior Marines, it's imperative you find a mentor, someone that you look up to, that you can emulate, that you've seen, that go through trials and tribulations, that they've hold themselves above reproach, that you want to be like, and just have that open dialogue and have that conversation with them. Because just because you want someone to be your mentor doesn't mean that individual at that time has the time and effort or the willingness to be your mentor. So it's a give and take. You got to find the right individual that's willing to, mentor you and setting you up for success.
That was pretty good, Master Guns. I do appreciate you coming here today, talking to us about your career, everything, your stories. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate, the opportunity to, talk about things and, my experience in past, Marine Corps career.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our podcast. Please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and make sure you comment below. Let us know your favorite part of this episode. Thank you.